Hey there, John Morris here, johnmorrisonline.com. Welcome back to another tutorial video. With this one today, I've got an Upwork profile critique for you. So this was sent to me a while back, and I sort of finally got around to being able to do this. But I think this is a good example for us to go through and talk about some of the things that you can do to help make your Upwork profile, really freelancer, even just your freelancing services page, more persuasive and help you get hired a lot easier. So I'm going to go through this. If you'd like a Upwork profile critique, I sort of do these public ones periodically, but I will do private profile critiques. I get asked about that a lot. I will do that. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to johnmorrisonline.com/critique. It's sort of a similar thing like this. I'll record a video, but I'll only send the video to you. I, of course, won't post it publicly. You also will get access to, as a bonus, get access to my Upwork 101 course along with that critique. So if you'd like that, again, johnmorrisonline.com/critique. All right. So with that said, let's go into this. And sort of the first thing that I want to step back big picture wise and talk about here is I sort of think that this idea in general is sort of a wrong-headed approach to this altogether, because sort of the way this was positioned to me was, hey, here's my cover letter, and can you critique it in the sense of this is sort of a similar thing that I send out to everybody else. It's almost like a template, and I want you to critique the template and then tell me what I can change about that. And I just want to point out that I don't think it's a good idea to use the sort of a plug and play template like this. Now, I talk about sort of a framework and a template in the sense about covering certain topics, but I really don't think that you should have something where you just sort of change out the name of the person or change out the name of the project, and it sort of says the same thing for everything that you bid on. That's really transparent to clients, and it's something that really irritates them. It's maybe the most annoying thing that clients talk about when it comes to trying to get freelancers on Upwork, is that a lot of the proposals and cover letters and so forth that they get are copy paste, or they can tell there's some sort of template, etc. It's really frustrating. You need to write out a unique cover letter proposal for every project that you bid on. It's not an efficiency thing, right? The amount of time you put into it oftentimes will be sort of the results that you get back. So, and if you do that, you're going to be a lot different than a lot of people that are on Upwork who aren't sending out unique proposals. So again, I just think the idea in general maybe is the wrong approach, or definitely is the wrong approach. But I think we can use this to sort of go through and look at some things and talk about cover letters and so forth. So the first thing right off the bat is it says, "Dear Hiring Manager." You should never write "Dear Hiring Manager" on an Upwork proposal in the cover letter. That's something that you might put on a resume for like a regular job, but for freelancing, never. If you're going to use a greeting like that, use "Dear" and whatever the name of the person is. That's what that should say. You know who it is because you're bidding on that project. Again, this is why templates like this are really the wrong approach. All right, so after reading through your job post, Windows, desktop application, etc., etc., I can see you need someone to add another module to the software and integrate with the existing system built on forecasting medical commodity consumption. I built a large portfolio of websites and solutions specifically on the .NET platform. I would love to have the opportunity to discuss your project with you. Okay, so it's good to start off, I think, and say, hey, after reading through your job, I can see you need. Okay, so that sort of demonstrates and indicates to them if you're accurate with what you're saying, it indicates to them a little bit that you read their project. And that's, again, something that they're really going to be looking for in someone who bids on their project. So that's a good thing to sort of start off with. Again, you just need to make sure that's accurate and pull out the most important thing that when you read through their project that you think is the most important thing that they're after. So when you say, "I concede you need someone to," what follows that should be what you've identified as their most important hiring criteria. And again, that's sort of why doing this as a template is a little bit, because how good this cover letter is really depends on the job that you've bid on. because the secret to writing a good cover letter is not some magic, combination of words or sentences. It's looking at the project, analyzing it, pulling out the key hiring criteria, and addressing each one of those in the cover letter or in the questions that they've asked, etc. That's what makes for a good cover letter. So not knowing what project this is on, it sort of makes it difficult. And again, that's why these templates like this are not necessarily a good way to go about this. So it's good, but again, it's good to start off with telling them that you sort of understand what they're after. But then you follow that up and say, I have built a large portfolio of websites and solutions specifically on the .NET platform. That is way too vague, right? The thing about this is you need to establish why you're unique. Having built a large portfolio of websites and solutions on the .NET platform, there's tons of people out there who've done that. Right? This doesn't set you apart in any way, doesn't make you unique in any way. You need to mention specific products and possible names if you can. You need to be highly specific. And the reason why is the way that you can guarantee, I'm going to try and say this the right way, the way that you can guarantee that you are absolutely 100% unique is talking about the specifics of your unique experiences, right? Because there's tons of developers out there who may have done 100 .NET platform websites or solutions, but they're not all the same 100 as you. So while a bunch of people can say they've worked on a lot of .NET projects, only you can say that you've worked on these specific .NET projects. So you will always be unique when you speak in specifics. Now, sometimes you can't always name names, you can't always name companies, you can't always name the name of the project, but you can talk about what the project was. So, and I have built this specific .NET project. I built this sort of application or this sort of solution, and I built this one, and I built this one. You want to talk in specifics and give them something specific, and then you want to make sure that it's as relevant as possible to their project. So you don't just have a list of 3 past projects that you always talk about in your cover letter. You look at each individual project and you say, what things have I done that are the most relevant to what this person wants done? And then you talk about those things. So I built this particular project, which is very similar to what you want. And I built this one, and I built this one, etc. Oh, and by the way, all of these are in my portfolio. And so that is how you make this really relevant, and you provide proof. That's the most important thing that you need to do in this, is provide proof that you are a really good fit and the person that can deliver on this project for them. Okay? So that's what's key in this first part of the cover letter. Then you go on to say, I have the following related skills with experience. Honestly, to me, I wouldn't even put that in there. If you've done a good job explaining, and with what I just said, and explaining, tying past projects to what this particular project is, you don't need to say I have experience with C#, right? That it's sort of built into what you're already saying, and that sort of stuff is like the lowest level of sort of proof and experience that you can sort of demonstrate to somebody. It's not going to have a great effect. What is going to have a great effect is your specific experiences. All right, please have a look at my Upwork portfolio. Thing is with cover letters and where the context of this, it's actually sandwiched into your profile. So you don't necessarily need to say, have a look at my portfolio and give a link to it. I mean, okay, it's probably not super harmful, but you can just sort of reference your portfolio because it's going to be on the exact page that they're looking at already. They can, your cover letter or your proposal gets sort of sandwiched into your profile on Upwork. And I did a whole video on this. I'll make sure and put that up in the button on the top right up here. I did a whole video on this where I show you exactly what your proposal looks like to an Upwork client, and you can see this. All right, then it says, since I'm available Monday through Saturday, we go over these details over chat or voice call and communicate via Upwork messages. Moving forward, I can handle this module and integrate it with the existing system within a period of 10 days. So that's pretty good. Basically, once you've demonstrated your proof and you've sort of made your pitch, then you can sort of talk about how they can get in touch with you, how they can communicate, and so forth. And so it says, thanks for your time, kind regards. So the rest of that is fine. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here is because I sort of got a follow-up message here that had asked me, from the same person that asked me, hey, I'm getting invited to a lot of jobs, but I'm not having a lot of successful job proposals. Why is that? And so the cover letter is part of that, but he went ahead and linked to his profile here. So I went ahead and took a look at the profile, and while that wasn't exactly what I was asked to do, I really want to go over this because I think this is probably the more important thing in answering the question of why am I getting invited to a lot of jobs, but I'm not getting successful job proposals. So if we click over to the profile here, and so when you are getting invited to a lot of jobs, but you are not necessarily getting a ton of successful job proposals, that is a symptom of having good targeting in terms of your title and your description on your profile and all of that, but not being necessarily super convincing in your profile as a whole. So what I'm saying is that when people create a new job on Upwork uses an algorithm to suggest a number of freelancers to them. And so because of the way you've written your description, your title, and so forth, you are likely coming up in those suggested freelancer things. And so people are just sort of inviting, they're just kind of clicking through and inviting a bunch of people. But when they actually take time to sit down and look through your profile and your proposal, then they're deciding to go with someone else. And that's a sign that maybe your profile isn't sort of up to snuff. And so that again, because your proposal is sandwiched in with your profile, your profile is a huge part of it. And there's sort of two things on here that sort of stand out to me. First off is the hourly rate of $5 an hour. And I know people in different countries and so forth, like the exchange rate. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, again, me looking at it, and I think a lot of people, who would be hiring you would probably fall in the same vein. Look at $5 an hour. And you may think of it in your mind as, I'm trying to, win on price, or I'm trying to give them a good price and they'll hire me because I'm cost effective, that sort of thing. But a lot of times people equate quality with price. And so when someone sees $5 an hour, they assume you're worth $5 an hour. And they probably don't want a $5 an hour result. Okay, so I really, this is, I always tell people, I would start at a minimum. I don't care where you live. I would start at a minimum of $20 to $25 an hour at a bare minimum, just because it sort of gets you past that idea of being sort of low quality. Again, I'm not saying any of that's true. I'm saying what the client perception is. Okay, so I think this is probably part of the problem. The second thing is, I've talked about this a lot, but when we talk about portfolio items need to be visually appealing. And I'm just going to be blunt with you. These are not visually appealing. For me, if I look at these, not as a web developer, just as a regular person, and I look through these are not visually appealing. And so there's a couple parts of that. Maybe you just need to take better screenshots, or maybe actual design and visual appeal is something you need to work on in your skill set. I don't know the answer there, but whatever it is, these need to be a lot more visually appealing. These are probably hurting you more than they're helping you. Because if I took the two things we just talked about, if I took this $5 an hour rate, and then I come down and I look through this portfolio, my suspicion about maybe this person, because they're only charging $5 an hour, they're worth $5 an hour in terms of the sort of product and result they can deliver. And I couple that with what I see in the portfolio, it sort of confirms my suspicion. And so that is my guess as to why you're getting invited to a lot of jobs, because your title and your description are, they're targeted well, and you've done a good job there. But when people start actually looking at your portfolio and they looking at what you charge, it leads them to believe that maybe you can't deliver in the way that they would want you to. Now, look, my job's not to be nice here. My job is to give you the facts. I know that probably isn't necessarily what you want to hear, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything's great when I just don't think it is. And so I would say the number one thing that you can do in terms of working on getting hired is work on visual appeal. I know a lot of back-end developers in particular. I did a whole sort of video on this where I talked about the importance of visual appeal for back-end developers. People judge books by their covers. The simplest analogy I can give you is how many times have you gone into, say, your phone with Android or Apple or whatever you use, and you've looked at an app and you've made a judgment upon whether you're going to install that app or not simply based off of the icon. I don't know how many times I've done. I do it all the time. Visual appeal matters. And so whether it's a matter of just taking better screenshots or actually working on that as a skill, that is probably the number one thing that you can do in order to improve the success that you have as a freelancer. And to hopefully maybe give you some motivation, inspiration, because I know that this maybe seem like it's coming across all negative. I actually I've been going back watching all of the sort of Marvel movies leading up to Infinity War to get myself prepped for when I go watch that movie, so I remember all the little nuance and stuff. And I was watching Thor, the original Thor, last night, and there was a part in there where I think there was a quote from it was the Eric Selvig, the doctor, in there, and I thought it's really relevant to this. So it's sort of when Thor is at a low moment, and he says it's not a bad thing finding out that you don't have all the answers. Now you can finally start asking the right questions. And that's how I would take this, because yeah, it can seem sort of demotivating that someone might be saying, hey, this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong and etc. But now, knowing that, you know what the issue is, you know what the problem is, instead of wondering or being confused about it, now you can actually address it head on and fix it. And once you do that, then I think you'll start seeing some more success with all of this. So hopefully that's how it comes across. That's certainly my intent. And again, I would really, really just go all in on visual appeal and get that mastered. Even if you consider yourself a back-end developer, it doesn't matter to clients. They care about visual appeal. So, all right, that'll do it for this critique. Like I said, if you'd like me to do a private one for you, you can head on over to johnmorrisonline.com/critique and learn more about that. If you like this one, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, make sure and ring the bell so you actually get notified when I post new videos and new tutorials. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.